Karibu Rafiki to the art of communication. Je m'appelle Harmonie, the gift of God Ma'at, and to my right, this is my lovely co-host,
Sudari, aka DJ Daro.
Woo-hoo,
And we are
here,
both here on
Afrovibes TV.
Yeah.
And here, the art of communication is authentically expressed without the need to be right or wrong. So let's just dive into it, baby, because last night,
Last night.
not cranium, no, but seriously. So last night, let's just get right into it because we went out. Lord have mercy, we went out last night, and my girl was DJing, doing her thing. So our homegirl Trance and I, we went out to support. We pulled up to this establishment, mind you, lovely place. She was doing her thing. The music was booming. But why I was having more fun with this gentleman, we're going to keep his identity private.
Yeah, let's do that.
All because I thought he was GAY. So my level of intensity of just how much fun we were having, honestly, me going right in, I'm like, yes, because I'm thinking we're girling, having a good time and all that good stuff.
All right.
So
the boy had a 3/4 chub.
Woo, baby, listen, it was a shock. I was shocked. I'm not even gonna lie. Once I found out that, where do I even begin?
Well, I mean, I guess the topic that we're really posing is we're talking about like meeting people, and nowadays you really don't know sometimes their orientation. So it's like, how do you know if a guy is gay? Because like she was saying, she assumed that he was, but he really wasn't.
Yeah.
So that's basically the topic that we're talking about. But so like, what about
Karibu Rafiki to the art of communication. Je m'appelle Harmonie, the gift of God Ma'at, and to my right, this is my lovely co-host,
Sudari, aka DJ Daro.
Woo-hoo,
and we are both here on
Afrovibes TV.
Yeah.
And here, the art of communication is authentically expressed without the need to be right or wrong. So let's just dive into it, baby, because last night,
Last night.
Not cranium, no, but seriously. So last night, let's just get right into it because we went out. Lord have mercy, we went out last night, and my girl was DJing, doing her thing. So our homegirl Trance and I, we went out to support. We pulled up to this establishment, mind you, lovely place. She was doing her thing. The music was booming. But why I was having more fun with this gentleman, we're going to keep his identity private.
Yeah, let's do that.
All because I thought he was GAY. So my level of intensity of just how much fun we were having, honestly, me going right in, I'm like, yes, because I'm thinking we're girling, having a good time and all that good stuff.
All right.
So
the boy had a 3/4 chub.
Woo, baby, listen, it was a shock. I was shocked. I'm not even gonna lie. Once I found out that, where do I even begin?
Well, I mean, I guess the topic that we're really posing is we're talking about like meeting people, and nowadays you really don't know sometimes their orientation. So it's like, how do you know if a guy is gay? Because like she was saying, she assumed that he was, but he really wasn't.
Yeah.
So that's basically the topic that we're talking about. But so like, what about him made you think?
Karibu Rafiki to the art of communication. Je m'appelle Harmonie, the gift of God Ma'at, and to my right, this is my lovely co-host,
Sudari, aka DJ Daro.
Woo-hoo,
and we are both here on
Afrovibes TV.
Yeah.
And here, the art of communication is authentically expressed without the need to be right or wrong. So let's just dive into it, baby, because last night,
Last night.
Not cranium, no, but seriously. So last night, let's just get right into it because we went out. Lord have mercy, we went out last night, and my girl was DJing, doing her thing. So our homegirl Trance and I, we went out to support. We pulled up to this establishment, mind you, lovely place. She was doing her thing. The music was booming. But why I was having more fun with this gentleman, we're going to keep his identity private.
Yeah, let's do that.
All because I thought he was GAY. So my level of intensity of just how much fun we were having, honestly, me going right in, I'm like, yes, because I'm thinking we're girling, having a good time and all that good stuff.
All right.
So
that boy had a 3/4 chub.
whoo, baby, listen. It was a shock. I was shocked. I'm not even gonna lie. Once I found out that, where do I even begin?
Well, I mean, I guess the topic that we're really posing is we're talking about like meeting people, and nowadays you really don't know sometimes their orientation. So it's like, how do you know if a guy is gay? Because like she was saying, she assumed that he was, but he really wasn't.
Yeah.
So that's basically the topic that we're talking about. But so like, what about him made you think that he was gay?
Honestly, I'm not even gonna lie. So going into the situation, first of all, I'm also not like out there looking to just kind of like, be mistaken to be like someone's woman or anything. I'm not like entertaining or anything like that. So if I'm going to go out and if I see a certain situation that I'm comfortable with, I'm going to dive right in. So going in, the one guy, the way that he was sitting facing him with his legs open, and the way that the guy that ended up mistaken to be a homosexual and he wasn't, because he was also a pretty boy. You know what I mean? Like, he was beautiful. When I tell you this man is like Barbie doll beautiful, all of that.
I'm gay and I thought he was cute. He was really cute.
Very much so.
Pretty ass teeth. He was on point.
Yes.
He was doing his thing.
So going right in, the way that he was so comfortable, I guess, with his being. I mean, honestly, most men, I'm used to them being reserved a little bit, but he welcomed me with open arms. He was very like in support of my existence, and I'm not used to that, to be honest. So therefore, the fact that he was just so warm and fuzzy right offhand, I was just like, okay, let's girl then. This whole time, this man really just loved my energy. He just really like was excited to be around me and things of that nature. But yeah, I just went in there, and mind you, I'm always telling people to observe and not judge, but I think I went in there judging. I thought I knew what I was talking about until I found out that.
So let me tell you what happened. So we go to the after hours, right? After the club. And so they're chilling, they kicking it. And then all of a sudden she comes over there to us and she's like, y'all, I don't think yeah. We're like, what? Because we thought the whole time that they were like vibing with each other. You know what I mean? So now we find out that she feels uncomfortable because she's like, okay, what am I gonna do? And how am I supposed to respond to him? But yeah, that's the truth. That's the truth.
Yeah. So overall, for one, we can't be going out assuming things and thinking we know what we're talking about, but also we have to approach things from being open-minded and also being aware and prepared for a curveball, because that took me back. Once I found out that he wasn't, it kind of made me a little bit more reserved, just simply because now I know that I'm dealing with a man. So I have to be like a woman, because I didn't think he was going to be attracted to me, but the whole time, brother man interested, girl. So now
definitely interested.
You feel me? So with that being said, how would you handle this situation if you go into a space where you're thinking it's one thing and it turns out to be another? So how do you approach, usually, like, to all my ladies, like, are you usually comfortable when a man is gay, or like are you more reserved when you find out that he's not? Because I found myself being more open when I thought that he was versus when he wasn't.
That makes sense. But the whole thing too is like, how do you tell? Because like, of course, if a man is feminine, then that's a dead giveaway.
Yeah.
But we all know that a lot of gay men are not necessarily feminine. So like, how do you let me ask you, how do you as a straight woman navigate through that, knowing that they have the down low brothers, and how do you know? Like Whitney Houston,
how do I know, sis? So let me just break it down like this. So I usually don't look for red flags. I'm not gonna lie. I'm the type of caliber that I just dive in and I go with the frequency, with the flow. Okay. Because honestly, you truly never know, just for the simple fact that I literally thought I was going into this situation knowing what I was talking about and what I was doing, and it ended up being something completely different. So with that being said, it's like at this point we have to release any level of measurement, because honestly, just approach the person, talk to the person, and get to know the person. And that's the only way that you can honestly know, because in this day and age, making any assumption honestly is going to lead you to a dead end or something like that.
So let me ask you, has that happened to you before? Have you ever met somebody and you thought that they were, or even how do you handle bisexual? Because there's that too. Are you
Ooh.
open to dating bisexual men? I'm putting you on the
Wow,
spot.
you are really putting me on the spot,
Getting
honestly.
all up in her Kool-Aid,
All
y'all.
up in my
Get you a glass.
Kool-Aid. All
We
right,
about to spill
so
some tea. Okay.
so that's actually a great question, because I always thought about like because sometimes people do things when they like and they're not even aware of what they're doing. Honestly, there's so many different things that plays a factor in altering someone's mind's way of thinking. Honestly, I believe in the way that Yahweh has created us.
Mm.
And so but the way that God has created man and woman to continue to co-create and things of that nature, I understand that with society as well. When you take a look at the food, and it's been proven in labs, like if you take certain chemicals, it is churning certain rats a certain way where it's altering your way of thinking. So in all reality, we all fall short of glory, and we all have gone through things where it was out of our control.
Mm.
But when someone comes to their senses and they have been through that experience and they're a changed man and now they're a God fearing man, would I accept them or would I continue to judge them based on their like past transgression? I would have to say no, honestly. Like, I know this is weird. Y'all gotta hear me out. But honestly,
It's not weird. I mean,
no, because it's more normal for like the community to accept like a lesbianist woman that was once living in her way of living,
mm-hmm.
and then she changes and then all of a sudden she's married and pregnant versus a man that was a homosexual. Like it's really frowned upon and it's not common. Like people don't talk about this, like because there are brothers that probably ended up in situations that they didn't want to be in. And then all of a sudden, once they have like recollected who they are and what they are, they're like, hey, you know what? I'm changing my way of living and this is where I'm going to go moving forward. They deserve a chance too. The same way, what's your perspective on that? Because you being you being a lesbianist woman, right? So I say lesbianist because
Well, I do think that society is a lot more forgiving when it comes to women. I mean, I've even seen women that are like, they don't even have to be feminine, like kind of like, I guess you would call them butch, and they get pregnant too. Like stuff happens. You know what I mean? Like the bumper sticker says. So, but I do think the society is way more forgiving when it comes to women, and I think that once a man is branded with that, that it's very, very difficult for him to probably get from up under that brand. And, even as far as like, not even just relationships, just with friends, because your friends don't want to hang with you no more. You know what I mean? So I think that it is a double standard when it comes to that. But I mean, that's cool that you're forgiving like that.
I'm very forgiving. Yeah. But it also comes with like, you have to make sure that everything is in alignment though. It just can't be one of those forgiveness and then you're messing up again tomorrow. It really has to be like God would have to be the center point, honestly, because if I'm just forgiving it's you and I probably won't, right? Yeah. But if like God is the center point, because some of us, our kingdom spouses, have done some things that it could be shameful or, and all of these things. But yeah, I believe in just following God's way, to be honest with you. We all fall short, just because you have done a thing or two, it doesn't mean you're not worthy of love or worthy of that family or worthy of you just getting, what is meant for you. So
I agree. And I mean, I'm the same way because like, I mean, my girlfriend used to be straight. And I mean, I
so you turned her up.
I totally forgive her. I don't hold that against her.
So she was straight when she met you.
She was straight before.
So how did that go?
But now, oh, that's a whole nother episode.
So you put a little sugar in her Kool-Aid, is what you're saying?
Maybe, but I'm just saying I didn't hold it against her.
Okay.
And now she's with me, and it's all good. So I feel what you're saying. People have a past, and the past doesn't necessarily have to dictate their present or their future.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And honestly, that goes to wanting me to ask you, like, you being you, right? Like, if you were to turn to the other side, like, would you ever, like, say if one day you decided to just not be lesbian anymore and you just wanted to be with a man now, or whatever the case may be, right? Would you give you a chance? Like, if you were to meet you in a different version of you? Like, would you mess with you?
We would, because I feel I feel very similar to how you feel. Like it's about the heart, and if we had like some type of spiritual connection, then I feel like that would supersede, whatever the past they have, because truly, honestly, whether you're gay, straight, hetero, pan, whatever it is, I don't know all the alphabets, y'all. Even me, I'm I'm old school. But whatever you are, like, everybody has a past, and everybody has something that's attached to them that you're not really necessarily gonna want to deal with. But you weigh the pros and cons, and you see, if it's worth it.
Yeah.
So I would say yes.
You would?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and at what point did you realize yourself? Because, like, when did you know that you were favoring women more than men? At what point?
Again, that is really another episode, but no.
Okay.
I mean, I was really young. Okay. I was really young. I can remember, honestly, like, maybe like 4 years old, and I had a crush on my nursery school teacher, and like, she used to do these things where she'd have like some of her favorite kids like spend the night, and I can remember thinking to myself, I hope I get to sleep in the bed with her.
Oh my goodness.
Now, I didn't know anything about sex or anything. I just wanted to be close to her. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's so yeah, at the tender age of about 4, I started having thoughts. But back then, it wasn't like on TV, or you weren't seeing it, so I didn't know really how to categorize it. Yeah. I just knew
this feeling that you had.
Yeah, that I like Miss Teresa. You know what I mean?
Wait, so you've never been with a man before?
Yeah, I have.
Okay, so how was that experience?
It wasn't very good. It wasn't very good. Yeah. I don't know how to say this.
Okay.
He was from Ghana, and he hadn't been in the United States like a long, long time. So I feel like when we were being intimate, that it's almost like he had a spear in his hand. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I used to envision. Like, he was just like, because that's what it felt like.
Wow.
So, needless to say, it wasn't a very good experience, and I would have to get drunk to have sex, and he'd have to take me shopping like within the 48 hours after, and like those were like the requirements.
Yeah, so you were really putting yourself out there, and it was very uncomfortable.
It was very uncomfortable for me.
Okay.
So yeah, needless to say, that wasn't something that
I wanted to try.
Yeah.
Well, those are all great points, and I do want to say thank you so much for just allowing me in your world and for just being honest.
Absolutely.
We are going to take a quick break, but when we do come back, we're going to dive deeper into more of like the spiritual essence of all of this. So stay tuned. We'll be right with you.
Women that cannot procreate, are they no longer women? I mean, or what about hermaphrodites, whom God also created, that have both sexes? Like, what do you say to that person? Do you
hermaphrodites?
Yeah, hermaphrodites have both.
Okay,
they might
when's
have
the
a
last time you know? When's the last time
you
heard about that? You do?
Yeah. Yeah, that's there.
Okay, well, this is what I will say. I've never heard of. I mean, honestly, I hear about that kind of stuff because they were saying like Sierra was one growing up or something like that.
A lot of people that you have no idea are, because what often happens is that when the kids are very young, the parents don't allow them. Number one, they don't allow them to live that lifestyle because they're ashamed, and so they tend to make the child pick. Or they pick one for the child, and then whatever the surgery they have, that's the one that the child has to leave with. So oftentimes the child doesn't even have a choice. But if they do happen to grow up with both sexes, I always pose this question to people, because people can always say, this is how it's supposed to be, this is how it's supposed to be. But here you have these creatures that have literally may have a penis and a vagina. So how do you reconcile that with God? Like, how are you telling them they have to choose one, and then which one would be right
honestly,
for them?
So I can only speak from a perspective of having one. If I had both, maybe I would be able to enlighten you more. Maybe if there is someone out there that has both that can enlighten us, please hit us up, let us know what's going on. But from a perspective of a woman, honestly, and knowing that as mother of all creation, we are responsible for continuing to create. So therefore, for the women that are having trouble not being able to conceive, honestly, some of these issues that we are now having, especially in our community, Like you can actually put a timestamp on it. It's not things that we were having these issues, especially being an indigenous woman coming from Zaire. So we didn't have these issues where women couldn't conceive. Usually,
Fertility issues?
yeah, fertility. Yeah, I didn't grow up around that, and usually there's an herb for it. There is like because the body itself is meant to heal itself. So if you go to a doctor and they tell you, oh, you can't conceive because this is going on and so forth, there is an herb supplement for that healing. So therefore you can have a child. Most of the time there is birth control that's involved. There is an over amount of indulgence when it comes down to yeast, which also is in white food and alcohol and just certain things that we're constantly consuming that's putting pressure in our womb space. Like I believe like the war has always been on women to begin with anyways because of the whole population control and things of that nature. So God implemented and created us in his perfectly. There is nothing wrong with us. So when there is stagnated energy within our vessel, then there is an herb for healing, and then there is a fruit to energize us and rejuvenate us and like electrify us again. So if there is a reason of why a woman can't have a child, honestly, you can get to the root of it. Most of the time is because of society and the things that we have endured.
Okay. So if you can't get to the root of it, then what?
I mean, you know, at that point, obviously there's grace and mercy.
Are you saying that women's main purpose is just to produce kids?
No, I'm not saying that, but that is the one of like if there were to be a top 5. Well, actually, if there was to be a top 3, it's top 3. Like, yeah, we are here to continue creation. Like we are the only creatures that God has trusted us enough to transmute and transform spirit into the physical. No one else on this planet can, and like they're not capable of. Let's forget the labs that they have going on where you can like grow a baby or whatever.
Lately, because baby,
you can grow a baby or whatever. But I'm talking about like organic
in a petri dish.
Literally,
now.
Exactly. And why do you think they're doing that for? They're doing that for because if creation was kept like how God intended it to be, those things wouldn't be possible. Those things are only possible for honestly people like yourself that want to have kids, but they want to be in a lesbianist commitment, and they want to still have a child. So now we have these labs. You can freeze this and grow that.
But most of my friends that are in lesbian relationships that have kids did not have them like that. They had them the old-fashioned way. They had them with men.
Yeah, but at some point,
that petri dish is not just for homosexual people. That petri dish is for anybody it's more or less for women again that have fertility issues. I mean, that's mainly what it is. You gonna get some letters.
No, but I'm just saying that those fertility
look, don't y'all be mad at me.
Listen, but those fertility issues, where do they begin? But those fertility issues, like where do they begin though? They don't begin like from and also come on now, sis. First of all, scientifically speaking, I don't know if y'all are into anatomy and physiology, like you should already know we're born with all of our eggs anyways. So we don't serve a God of fault. So therefore, all of these things that come about, all of these stagnated energies that are around the womb space, it's trauma, it's a bunch of different things. Like women are just not able to have a child because God said, I'm going to give you a womb and all of your eggs, but you cannot use them. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. There's a lot of different things that goes around
that's like erectile dysfunction. I mean, there's a lot of men
because your ass is not doing what you're supposed to do.
But they can't use them.
Because what do they eat? How often do they drink? What are they smoking? What are they thinking? There is so much that goes into this. It's just not like,
so you know, think it's just like medical? Like they just have a medical sickness? Or?
No, it's not. Like even if you do your research in food, there has been proof where certain lab, like in certain like with certain GMOs and pesticide, whatever they use to grow food, it has been proven if people do their research that there are certain things in our food that will alter your way of thinking. Like I said before, we don't serve a God of fault, so therefore God did not create the masculine and the feminine just for it to be like you know what I mean? I'm not against it or anything, but I'm just saying like in a spiritual essence, how do you pray and still eating off of the forbidden fruit? Like what's good? How do you know?
Because again, I don't look look through it through your lenses.
No, but can we look at it from God's lens?
I mean,
like,
but
don't look at it from
to
my
me,
lens.
that is God's lens, because if you look at it like Jesus is a central figure of Christianity, right? Jesus never talked about homosexuality. He really didn't. That was something that was from the Old Testament. And to be honest with you, that whole story of Sodom and Gomorrah doesn't really make sense. It really doesn't make sense, because first of all, you say a whole town of people were going to have sex with two men. Like, anybody that knows it, you talk about science and all this stuff, right? Well, after about maybe 4, those Tootsie Rolls are gonna be so destroyed. There's no way a whole town of men can have sex with two men. So I'm not 100% sure, but one thing I can tell you is that you shall know a tree by its fruit. And most people that have met me have been drawn closer to God from being around me, not the opposite. So that's what I look at. I look at the fruit. I look at the heart, which is the same thing that God looks at. He doesn't look at, what I'm doing at nighttime. He's looking at my heart and how I'm treating people, and whether I'm trying to, live a life full of faith. Like, there's so many things that we as Christians need to be working on outside of our sexuality. And I think a thing is that we get caught up on things that people can see, because see, when we gossiping, nobody can see that. When you lying, nobody can see that. But when you're gay, it's easy. People can point it out. Oh, look what she's doing. But there's a lot of people in the Christian community that are doing all types of things under the sun that you can't. There's pedophiles. I mean, there's so many ministers that have been messing with kids in the church, have been messing with women in the church, the same ministers that are preaching the sermons to everybody. So at the end of the day, we all are works in progress.
No, we all are works in progress. And I don't want to cut you off for anything, but it just sounds like you're giving a list full of reasons as to why your lifestyle should be accepted. Because you still have yet. I don't need you to accept it. As long as I feel like I have acceptance from God. And I have acceptance from my family. I didn't always, because I am a preacher's kid. I didn't tell you that. All right, even greater. How do your Christian parents feel? Like,
they didn't for my father. Father. They didn't. They didn't even like. The sad thing about it, my mom didn't even love me. Like, that religion taught her not to love her own child. That's not of God. God is love. And I think people get
God is also about creation, though,
It's about creation, but God is also about balance. And everybody can't be doing everything at the same time. There has to be variety as a spice of life. And who are we to say what God's plan are? We don't know. We know bits and pieces. But even the Bible says there are not enough books in this world to contain everything that happened back in the day. So
and I just want to say, like, how, first of all, you were quoting the New Testament versus the Old Testament, right? And the Old Testament, to me, is more organic than even the New Testament. There's too much altering of the New Testament. But I just want to say
about this. Jesus, and Jesus is a central figure of Christianity.
Of course, but I just want to say, like, regardless of the matter, right? We follow commands. They should not kill. They should not do these things. It has already been written in the Bible. I forget which chapter or which scripture it is, but it has already been written that man should not lay with men. Like,
in the Old Testament, it also says that if your children are wrong, you should take them in the middle of the city and have the elders stone them. It also says you shouldn't eat shrimp. It says you shouldn't cut your hair. It says women shouldn't wear pants. It says all of this. So if we can't. If you're gonna go that way, then take it all. Don't take bits and pieces.
We're gonna have to take it all. We're gonna have to take it all.
You know what I mean?
We're gonna have to take
it all. Because nobody
is
having their children stoned. I can tell you that for sure. I've not met one Christian that had their child stoned because they were disobedient. That is in the Old Testament. Y'all look it up.
But to be stoned, it doesn't mean like literally, but some of them are kicked out of their house.
Take them into the city center with the elders and have it was specific. It wasn't a non-literal.
So what God is saying, hey, anything that is against nature, get rid of it, because it's interrupting nature, because also nature has been interrupted. That's why we have all of these things going on. That's not
love. Jesus loved lepers. He loved the people that were shunned. That's not the message that Jesus sent. In my opinion.
Yeah. Because we can agree to disagree overall. Because it doesn't, I don't love you anymore and I don't love you any less. If anything, it gives me understanding of where you stand in things. If anything, I honor and I respect the fact that you are honorable and respectful still to your creator, regardless of how you live in your life. You know what I mean?
And everybody knows. Anybody who knows me knows that I love God. Like it's not up for question.
No, it's cool. I was just curious to know, like, how do you manage, because people are struggling with their faith, because sometimes people, they feel like they have to choose. You know, overall, it took me a
long time to reconcile that. Like there were times that I wanted to kill myself. Like I went through periods of depression, especially because my family, you know, was treating me like the way that they were.
Yeah.
But it took a long time, but at 50 years, I'm 50 something. Yeah, I'm not ashamed to say it because it's a blessing.
Absolutely.
I've just gotten to the point where I can love myself. I feel good about myself. I know God loves me. My family loves me, and I'm good with that.
Amen.
Like everything else, y'all can have that.
Y'all can have that. So, what's the final word that you have for those that are on the journey?
It's all about the love, y'all, you know, and I mean, this goes to straight relationships or heterosexual relationships. Like we should be treating each other with love, and we should be examples of Jesus' love. We should be examples of agape love in our relationships, on our daily walk. So to me, that's what it's all about, you know.
That's the most important thing, and you've heard it from my lovely co-host here,
DJ Darrow.
Woo-hoo! So again, thank you so much for tuning in. Honestly, this has been such an eye-opener, to be honest with you, because I do know that as a collective, there is so many of us that are back home that is struggling with faith, that wants to pick one or the other. So you can definitely just continue to practice unconditional love more than anything. If you don't know where to start, where to begin, or where to do anything, just continue to own yourself, continue to own your authentic expression, and honestly continue to show up in a way where you're honestly leaving people better than you found them. It sounds like that's what is balancing out this whole thing. And don't go anywhere assuming that someone isn't gay and they turn out to be. Okay?
You might have to do that booty test, y'all. Y'all know booty test? We'll talk about that on the next episode.
So thank you so much for joining us again. My name is Harmony, and this is DJ
Darrow.
All right, and thank you for joining us on The Art of Communication, where matters of the heart is authentically expressed without the need to be right or wrong. And this is us on
Afrovibes TV. We will see you later.
Later, Gator.